Shamkun Prabhu for giving me this opportunity. Although I'm not qualified to speak about Srimad Bhagavatam, I'll humbly accept this service for my purification. So, requesting all devotees to kindly pray so that in my humble attempt, we all can benefit from this. So, today we are we'll try to hear from the. I'll try to summarize this particular lecture of Maharaj, which is from the second canto, second chapter. The canto is entitled Cosmic Manifestation, and the chapter is entitled The Lord in the Heart. So this is towards the end of the chapter, verses 31 and 32. So we'll try to discuss that. Hare Krishna. Okay. So is the PPT visible, and is my voice clear, Prabhus and Mataji's?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Everything.
thank you. So Maharaj starts this particular lecture by saying that Srila Prabhupada has been sort of indirectly or implicitly mentioning about this various paths of reaching the spiritual sky. So in this particular verses, the 31 and 32nd verse, he sort of explicitly gives some clarifications of what these two verses are. So there are series of verses which come before this verse, and I sort of took a summary of that. And there are two paths of reaching the spiritual sky. One is the direct method, the other is the indirect method. So the verses both are equally important because both are Vedic, and it's given by Srila Shukadeva Goswami. Learned sages knew this, and they knew that both are there, and that's why it's given the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's not that it's not important. It's there because it's Vedic. So the indirect method is, the small context is, there is this pole star where the aspiring transcendentalist goes there first, and before that there is a series of steps which he has to do. He has to concentrate, etc. And then he moves to another planet and another planet. He goes there, stays there, and he goes finally to Brahmaloka and finally merges with the Brahman. This is what this is what is called as the indirect method or the long stairway method. On the other hand, what we as practicing devotees are trained or educated is the direct method, which La Prabhupada started, wherein our attempt is to go from Bhuloka to Golaka, which is simply called an elevator method. So whichever be the process, either the direct method or indirect method, the underlying factor is purity. So the purity part is required. And as Maharaj mentions that these verses spell out what purity is. So Maharaj reads out what purity is. It's only the purified souls can attain the perfection of associating with the personality of Godhead in complete bliss and satisfaction in his constitutional position. So what is this purity and what is it talking about? It's primarily talking about self-realization. Now, self-realization, if Maharaj mentions that people talk about the self-realization, self-actualization, there's so many things which come under the umbrella of self-realization. The pseudo spiritualists, they talk about it. It's been spoken about in the universities, etc. But that's not what it is. The authoritative statement from Srimad Bhagavatam, which is being pointed out, is it's a state of pure consciousness, number one, and wherein there is a direct relationship of the devotee with Krishna, and it's in complete bliss, complete satisfaction. And there is no attraction for anything else, and there's no wanting for anything else. And this is what is called a constitutional state. Now, the next question is, what is our constitutional state? That is who we really are. And what is that? We are all servants of Krishna. And in that position of constitutional state, we are happy to accept that position of being servants of Krishna. So that is another thing. And so there are many things which lead to this self realization. So you can say it's like, for example, this ray of light. Some people say this ray of light is the full sun, but it's not. It's just partial. Okay, some people just take this little ray of light and they think that this is the all in all, and they follow this as a religion. Okay. So that is one, but that's not the real, that's not the full picture of what self-realization is. Here, people aspire to go to the Brahma Jyoti and merge, and they think that's the entirety of it. But then we have been taught in Srimad Bhagavatam that that's not the whole thing. There is the sun, which is the actual full blown compared to its ray, and this realization that the ray is not the sun, it's a full realization, which is the Bhagwan realization. So that's another thing which Maharaj mentioned. And Maharaj quotes Srila Prabhupada by saying that this uh, this full Bhagwan realization is what we practicing devotees should aspire for. And on the other hand, Srila Prabhupada always chastises this Mayavadis that this partial realization of partial Brahman realization, in that stage there is no love for Krishna. But our objective as practicing devotees, as bhaktas, is Krishna Prem. So, but then both methods are given, both methods are mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And so our method is a direct method aspiring for Bhagwan realization. So that's one thing. Another thing which has been mentioned is, uh, if we've all heard this in the Bhagavad Gita, that when we go to the when we reach the kingdom of Goloka, there is there are no material desires there, and we don't have to come back to this material world. So that's Maharaj mentioned that that's a huge relief. So that's it. So then Maharaj coached La Prabhupada by giving a nice analogy of what this merging is, because we are on the topic. So what is this merging likened to? So in another place, Srila Prabhupada mentions this, that this is similar to taking off of a spacecraft. It escapes the Earth's gravity and it's able to go to space. But then what do you do in space? What does a person in the spacecraft do in space? He's just floating around in the air, and there's really nothing for him to do. And then what does he do after that? There's no place. If there is no place for him to land, he has to come back. So this is what merging is. There is existence. That's about it. But then he has to come back, because by nature we our constitutional position is that we want to experience friendship, loving exchanges, and we are active by nature. We need some activity, whereas merging into Brahmajyoti, there is no activity. You go similar to a spacecraft going in space, moving around, floating around, and then after some time, if there is no if there is no fuel or water or oxygen, it has to come back, right? So that's not what we want. And or there, if the spacecraft can land on another planet where which can sustain the person and the spacecraft, then it's okay. But otherwise, it has to come back. But then that's not what we are. We by nature are active. So therefore, this analogy Srila Prabhupada gives, which Maharaj quotes, that merging into Brahmajyoti is definitely something which we don't want. So that's another thing. Sorry. Okay. And another aspect of this merging is that it's a selfish desire. The desire, so there is this famous sloka from Chaitanya Charitamrita, which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quotes in the Madhya Leela 19th chapter. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ateva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kaming Shakali Ashanta. So he's not satisfied, he's not happy, because each of these four categories of people, be it the bhukti, the materially desirous person aspiring for liberation, like how we spoke about, or the yogis who's aspiring for siddhis, each of them are not happy, because the center is their self. So wherever it goes, the center is their self. Therefore, this is not what we want, and our objective is to keep Krishna at the center. So therefore, for a person who's aspiring to merge, he'll be generally ashanta, he'll not be satisfied. So that's another thing. Okay. But for a devotee, on the other hand, a devotee's consciousness, we will try to see what is the destination of a devotee. On one side, we saw the person who's aspiring to merge into Brahman. We saw his destination. On the other hand, a person who's practicing devotee like all of us. What is his consciousness? What should be his ideal consciousness? One is his senses are withdrawn, his desires are subdued, or rather, we can say that his single most desire is to serve Krishna. That is one. And what would be his symptoms? Generally, symptoms are he's unlimitedly blissful, he's fully satisfied, and no other things which would agitate his senses. So these are his symptoms. And what is his destination? We saw in the first slide where the destination of Krishna Bhakta is to go back to Vaikuntha or Goloka. So that is destination, and this is corroborated by Krishna as well. The same 15th sloka of the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, wherein uh, the a practicing devotee who's a devotee of Krishna, he goes to that plane where he doesn't come back after having gone there. He doesn't come back to his material world, which is full of miseries. So that's the destination of a Krishna's devotee. And Maharaj continues by saying that if we love Krishna, then we love all of them. So one of the aspects or the good fortunes, there are many good fortunes. One of them is if we place one of a good fortunes of placing our authenticity in Krishna is if we love him, we love all of them. So Maharaj mentions that there was one Mataji who, there was one Mataji who asked Srila Prabhupada, what should I think about when I'm chanting? So Srila Prabhupada, how do I think of all the living entities? So Srila Prabhupada says that we don't have the capacity to think of all living entities, what to speak of their welfare. So the best thing Srila Prabhupada advises is to think of Krishna. So if we think of Krishna, then automatically we have compassion for all living entities. And so therefore the love for Krishna is focused, it's exclusive, it's singular. So because it's exclusive, at the same time it's on all inclusive, because Krishna is the center, Krishna is the fountainhead and the source of everything. So that's the thing. Now, what is the reward for a devotee who worships Krishna? So a devotee who worships Krishna in pure devotion. So that's an aspirational stage. A devotee who's in the position of pure devotion, he is serving Krishna fully, willfully, and he's consciously serving Krishna as well with genuine feelings. So what does he experience? He experiences something called Shantam and Anandam. So there is obviously a long purport, and these two words are emphasized primarily in this particular purport, which is Shantam and Anandam. So we spoke about how the yogis, the yogis who are aspiring for siddhis, the jnanis who are aspiring to merge, and the materially desirous people, they are a shanti. On the other hand, a devotee who is practicing Krishna consciousness, he would ideally experience Shantam and Anandam. So he'll be fully peaceful, satisfied, as well as fully happy. So that is the primary difference between these two classes of men, people, and because the mind is not agitated. For a person whose mind is focused only on the desire to serve Krishna, his mind is not agitated. Whereas the mind of the other three categories of people is self-centered, therefore it is agitated. Whereas a person whose single focus is to serve Krishna, his mind is not agitated. Therefore, he can experience this Shantam and Anandam. So that's the thing. So now what one of the devotee again in Maharaj mentions this, that a devotee asked him, I'm chanting, but my mind is disturbed. So Maharaj gives a very nice example. He mentions that he gives him a visual example so that he can understand and probably appreciate it better. So Maharaj mentions that he takes these morning walks in the probably at that point in time he was in an IIT campus. So at the time when things are peaceful, he goes for a morning walk, and there are stray dogs. So stray dogs would be there, And at one point, there was one particular incident which Maharaj is trying to bring out. The analogy is that of a poodle dog. So once one professor was taking his poodle dog out for a walk, and obviously there were many stray dogs. So Maharaj nicely um, gives this, because he mentioned it's a visual example. He barks. Wow, wow, wow! He barks because the stray dogs. What is the nature of stray dogs? Dogs in general are territorial. So stray dogs, when it sees a new dog entering its territory, it naturally barks. Okay. So when it barks, so the stray dogs started to bark. And then what happened? Because the poodle dog, as I mentioned before, was um, taken out for a walk by its master. The master had a long leash on the poodle dog, and this is called a white French poodle dog. It's got tufts of hair here and there, and shaved here and there. So the master of the poodle dog had a stick in hand, a long stick as well, along with the leash. So the moment that a stray dog started barking, the master held the stick high, pointed out at the stray dogs. The moment the stray dogs saw this stick, they looked at each other, and then they looked at the poodle dog that again looked at each other, and then they shrugged their shoulders and they went back to sleep or sit down. So that's what the stray dogs did. So what Maharaj tried to uh, teach us through this analogy is that the stray dog being under the protection or under the protection of its master was peaceful. On the other hand, the poodle dog was peaceful under its master because it was protected. On the other hand, the stray dogs, because they didn't have any master, they were not peaceful. So the Maharaj gives the example of sanatana to the stray dogs, to the poodle dog, whereas anatana to the stray dogs. So the poodle dog was protected, it was undisturbed. Although there was a cause of disturbance, it remained undisturbed. It was peaceful and happy because it had a master. So, therefore, we have to take shelter of Krishna or his representatives. So, that is our being in a constitutional position. Hare Krishna. So, through this example, we learn that we have to be in a conscientious position, that is serving Krishna, accepting him as a master, his representative as our master, and single-mindedly serving him. So this Maharaj brought this example, brought up this analogy to explain to the devotee who raised the question. Then Maharaj goes about mentioning the some of the stages. So he gives it as A, B, C, D in the path of a spiritual life of a practicing devotee. So one is, to start with, we have to, there'll be a lot of desires, dualities. They come about in our life. So that's the first stage. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Tam Stitikshasva Bharata, Matra Sparshashtu Kaunteya, Shitoshna Sukha Agamapaina Nitya, Tam Stitikshasva Bharata. So these would come, but then what do? We tolerate them. That's the first stage. The first stage is to just tolerate them. There would be dualities because the material world is a place of dualities. We have to, the dualities would come and go. We just have to tolerate them. There's no other choice. That's the first stage. That's the first stage wherein we tolerate these dualities. And not just that, we have to, the dualities would come, but then we have to place our consciousness in eternality. What is eternality? The soul. The spirit soul is eternal, and we do those activities which are beneficial for the eternal soul. And Maharaj gives the example in Srila Prabhupada's language that it's the best use of a bad bargain. We have got this body. No, no, there's no running away from it. We have got this body. So what do? We tolerate the dualities, and we make use of the make the best use of this bad bargain. Although the body is bad, temporary, we try to place our consciousness and soul by practicing bhakti. So that is one. Accept spirituality, tolerate duality. That's the first step. Then the second step, as we keep progressing along, in our path of devotional service, we come to this stage of wherein we have to garden the heart. Now, as we practice, as we go about our spiritual practices, it's not just the good things the plant which will grow. Side by side, the weeds would also grow. And that's when we come to the stage of gardening the heart. In the heart, both the plants which we want to nurture, the creeper of bhakti would grow, as well as the weeds would grow. The weeds would grow faster. The weeds would get all the sunlight, the water, etc., and because of which the actual plant which we are hoping to nurture will not get the full monty. So that's when we have to garden that. That is, we invest our consciousness more and more in the spiritual practices, and we remove the weeds. That's important. So that's anartha nivriti in other terms. So we remove the weeds, wherein Maharaj says, we say no to sense gratification. We say no to merging into Brahman. We say no to any of these mystic siddhis, mystic powers, and we say no to the respect which we are hoping to get as practicing devotees. So we say no to all of this. So that's the aspect of gardening the heart, wherein we remove the weeds, we invest our consciousness more and more in spiritual practices. Then, as we go along our path of devotional service, after doing these, after crossing these first two steps, we come to the stage which Maharaj equates it to Nishta stage. In this stage, in this stage, what happens? Both the creeper of bhakti as well as the weeds exist, but the weeds exist in traces. The bad qualities, anarthas, are in traces. Both exist, but they're in the bad ones are in traces, and the devotee becomes indifferent to this, because bhakti at that point in time is so strong that the so-called anarthas are very low, very less, and the devotee becomes indifferent to this. And finally, Maharaj mentions that the devotee comes to a stage called purity, wherein he experiences extreme happiness in his practice of devotion, and all other things becomes meaningless. And Maharaj gives this example of a glowworm. So we all know glowworm. Glowworm is an insect which has some significance during the night time, whereas during the daytime, on a full blown sunny day, the glowworm is insignificant. So that's our position. The analogy is that the position of a pure devotee in the stage of purity is that all the things of the material world are insignificant to him. At this stage, he's compassionate to other living entities. He feels hurtful for them. He feels paradokadukki. He feels hurtful for them because he knows that everything in this material world is going in a very hurtful, harmful way. He feels suffering for them, but that's unfortunate. And he's not attracted to any of these. And then Maharaj uses this phrase called labor of love. So we would have all heard this phrase, labor of love. It is learned labor of love. Sorry, learned labor of love. Because we do it with some consciousness. We do it with some goal. The labor, for example, a father going to work, that's a labor of love. He understands that he has to take care of the family. He goes to the work. Similarly, the mother looks after the child, although the child creates all sorts of inconveniences. But then the mother knows the ultimate objective is there to take care of the child. So therefore, she undergoes the learned labor of love. So this we understand our position that we have to we are eternal servants of Krishna, and therefore we go ahead with practicing this devotional service continuously. So that's one. And then Maharaj mentions that whichever stage one may be in, that is either in the tolerance stage or the gardening of the heart stage or the Nishta equivalent stage or the purity stage, the question which practicing sadhaka should ask is some introspections or questions which you need to ask is he clear, are we clear with the goal, and are we striving with by the right means to achieve that particular goal, and are we guided by intelligence to reach that particular goal. So now this intelligence is when a person whose intelligence understands that his intelligence is very limited. So therefore the most intelligent thing which he has to do is he has to rely on Krishna's intelligence or Krishna's representatives intelligence. That is, in other words, we take guidance from representatives of Krishna. So that's another thing. And finally, Maharaj sort of concludes that, because the concluding aspect of the lecture is again coming back to the first slide, which is the elevator method, direct method, and the indirect method. So our focus as practicing devotees is to follow the direct method of going back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Vivek Prabhu. Wonderful presentation.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
So please
And
correct me. Sorry.
yeah, the visuals really help to put it in our mind. Some key things that Maharaj said. Let me first hear from others. And the good thing was, I think this was a lecture of Maharaj, which went almost 40 minutes or so, which would have taken 2 days of our morning hearing time, but you summarized it well in 1 day's time. Oh,
Thank
nice. That's nice. Anybody else here would like to say something?
Hare Krishna, Vivek Prabhu, Kumarika Devi Dasi. You have set such a high standard, Prabhu, that it is really difficult for us to even match anywhere. It was a wonderful experience. And as Prabhu said, the visuals were very helpful in fixing the message in our mind. Thank you so much for taking such pains for our sake.
Thanks a lot, Mataji. So it helped me also, Mataji, to hear and try to put it so that as part of purity, it's really helpful. Thanks to Shamkun Prabhu again.
Thank you, Devin. Anybody else in the call would like to either ask a question or elaborate something which Vivek Prabhu said, or something that you were able to access the the mood of Maharaj or his inner motivations? Anybody would like to add? Please to say so.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please go ahead.
Thanks a lot to Vivek Prabhu. It's a wonderful thing that he has done. It's a fantastic attempt and an excellent presentation. I mean, the way he has presented, the pictures that he has given, the summary that he has given, it's really a wonderful job. And it is very, very helpful for all of us. As Kumarika Mataji said, he has really set the standards very high. So when you tell us in future to do this, we will really have to think how we can do it to make it of the standard. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Uh,
Yes.
I like that example what Maharaj gave of the stray dogs and the bulldog. So I mean, it was really helpful to understand how to calm our own minds or how to accept the disturbances and move on. So that was a really a very good example, Prabhu. Thank you.
You.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, Shweta Mataji mentioned that example of stray dog and bulldog, where here they say that the master is holding the dog, so the dog was peaceful and other dogs were also not barking at him or something like that. And they will take this other analogy where donkey being with the master gives the grass which is already there on the streets, but the donkey works very hard uh, to eat the same grass which is already there. Uh, how these two examples different, Prabhu? That donkey is also having a master, and the dog also having a master. I need little clarification between these two.
Yes, Vivek Prabhu, please to respond to.
Hare Krishna, I'll attempt, Prabhu. So one is it's a poodle dog, Mataji. It's not a bulldog, it's a poodle dog, which Maharaj mentioned. It's a white French poodle dog. So regarding the question, so the master of the poodle dog is looking for completely for the self-interest of the poodle dog. He's not exploiting the poodle dog at all. He's taking the poodle dog for a walk, which is for its benefit, as well as he's protecting the poodle dog from external disturbances. So these are the primary differences. Now, on the other hand, the the donkey and its master, again, as you mentioned, both have masters. The donkey's master is exactly on the opposite side of the spectrum. he or she is trying to completely exploit the donkey by getting work done by the donkey. That is number one. Number two, he's not looking out for the donkey's self-interest. Number two, and end of the day, he feeds him, as Srila Prabhupada's words, some morsel of grass which is available in abundance out. So that's the difference. One is trying to protect, the other is trying to exploit. And we can probably give the analogy that a bona fide spiritual master which is the poodle dog's master equivalent. No, not him, but then the analogy is he's trying to help a practicing devotee move up and up in his spiritual practices, and he's only looking for the self-interest of the aspiring devotee. On the other hand, obviously, we see the material people of this world, a bogus spiritual master. He's trying to exploit the so-called disciple, who is a bogus disciple, and he's trying to for his complete self-interest. So this is the difference, Mataji. Prabhu, please add if I miss something, or you can correct me.
Well, nice, very nicely said. I just want to bring the message home further. I'd like to ask whoever in this call, have you ever felt the protection of either a spiritual master or some person who is giving you the message of the scriptures? If so, how was it for you that you felt that as a protection? I mean, it's one thing to say theoretically, it's another thing to experience it practically. And even if you experience it many times, the way we function is we forget it. So when such questions are asked, we trying to recollect how something nice came in my life, and we feel even more grateful. So that's where I'd like to hear from maybe 2-3 of you. Have you ever felt that spiritual protection at all? And if one of you, even if at least there's one of you here who feels I have not felt spiritual protection, please do say that too. Yeah, please go ahead.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you very much, Prabhu. It was very nicely explained by Vivek Prabhu, the difference. Yeah, the protection is always there, Prabhu. Yeah, we see many other people all around, how they are getting distracted with all different things materially, and how we are protected in this spiritual. I am not doing 100%, but at least 1% what I am doing, that is also protecting me. So I feel safe here in following these things and being in the protection of Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj Prabhu.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else, please? Kumarika Mataji, I think you have raised your hand.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I did have an experience of the Lord's protection very explicitly. Once we were traveling from Chennai to Delhi for joining the yatra. Because of a marriage in the family, we were already late by 2 days. And we were all anxious to get to Vrindavan as quickly as possible. At that time, part of my family who went out, they could not come back because of the traffic jam. And their luggage was with us, and we could also not move. And it was at that time then we were helpless. So I sat down and started chanting the Ugram Biram, and the others also followed. So we three were chanting and chanting continuously for an hour or so. And they came very late, but the counter was open and they said, your flight is delayed by 1.5 hours by some delay. So even though they came 40 minutes late, so we could still catch the flight, and I thought it was all Krishna's mercy.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that, Mataji. Neelima Mataji, can you please say?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much, Vivek Prabhu. Such a nice presentation. My experience is I am like that stray dog. So when other dogs bark, I bark more or I engage more. And I have been thinking that I'm practicing bhakti and not like. But then I realize if I take any small instruction of Maharaj, any instruction of Maharaj and apply it in a minute way also, I am able to at least I am able to understand what is a human standard, and then I have hope of progressing in bhakti. Like I'll go back to the same example of finding fault with others. I don't know what is happening there. Like as I was like barking like a stray dog, and then Maharaj put a latch by this instruction, and then I have been uh, trying to understand and apply, and it makes more sense now, and things are more clearer now. Like so, that's my understanding too.
Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much for that very vulnerable expression. Lalita Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yeah, first of all, many congratulations. Wonderful presentation, Vivek Prabhu. Regarding the protection part, Prabhu, generally, when we talk about the protection, like we are like, I think, okay, generally people in general, they perceive, okay, some material calamity has to happen and they were able to avoid it and all those things. In that sense, we see the protection. With the regular hearing and interacting with the devotees, I also understood that protection means the protection of the consciousness. And that I understand now. But the first time I experienced, and many years ago, and that time I was not even aware of this conception of spiritual protection or protection of consciousness. I was not even aware of this term, but I experienced it. And if I remember correctly, I expressed to you also. It was when I decided, okay, I will go for the initiation from His Holiness Rompa Swami Maharaj. And I was like internally convinced, okay, I will go. The moment when I got that conviction, okay, I will go for my initiation from Maharaj. Somehow I don't know, I felt very much protected. Now I know all these terms and that is spiritual protection or protection of consciousness. But that time, I was not aware, but I somehow I felt कुछ problem नहीं हुआ था life में कि I was feeling protection. Nothing has happened, but I felt that okay, there is some nice shelter is there, and I will be protected. So that was the feeling, Prabhu. For the first time, I think that time I called you also. That Prabhu, I don't know, but I'm feeling some sense of protection after internally I'm like going for the shelter of Maharaj. So that was one thing, Prabhu. I felt the protection, and then gradually, whenever the Maharaj comes or I hear his lecture very attentively, the sense of protection against would surface for me. That is also there. And sometimes, yes, it is strengthened also. That's one thing, Prabhu, you told about protection. I just shared. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing the thought. Thank you. Shweta Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I think I have felt this protection. I will not say explicitly, but emotionally, I have felt it almost all the time whenever I was thinking with concentration or with. So these the Vivek Prabhu in his very nice presentation and the summary, the way he explained, those stray dogs are attacking all the time. It attacks at least me all the time. Whenever I think something positive, I think one positive thought comes and then 10 negative thoughts. And that creates panic, fear. I mean, everything negative. And I'm not sure of myself itself. Leave the people about me. I don't trust myself only. So definitely I don't trust people around me or someone. But then when I hear the lectures, when I when I am in the kirtan, when I am seeing the devotees, how are they? Those things, the notes or those nots or the negative things, they go. I come in a very blissful situation. Definitely that doesn't remain permanent because I am not doing that permanently. I'm again coming back to what I'm doing. But then I know the shelter where to go. If I'm distraught, where to go, I know that. So I feel that feeling of protection or feeling of shelter is there all the time. So that's one I wanted to share, Prabhu.
Thank you. Thank you. Ashok Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu here. So as all people told, so nice presentation with visual experience. Yes. So then next time we also needs to prepare this way or like here attentively. Nice Prabhu. Yeah. Regarding this question, Prabhu, actually maybe I exactly cannot say I feel protected. But since we are in this association, something yeah, so I understood this is it will definitely take to the good level. So this is what my expectation, and some means exactly I don't have a experience that I feel protected like materially or something. But maybe we cannot even explicitly say that materially protection means we are protected. But maybe Krishna is thinking other way. If you're going that way, maybe you will be losing your way. So he's giving some tests. So where I feel okay, I should come in the same path or this path. If you going other way, it means again. So that's what, as per our understanding, we think this is good for us. But maybe Krishna thinks this is not good. So something is arranged for you. So this is what I feel, and I continuously I'm striving to get the best possible my way. So still, of course, I'm not 100% best. I'm doing for this path, but I'm striving for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Guru Prabhu. Oh, can you say your microphone is unmuted, but I can't hear you. Guru Prabhu.
Yes,
You want to
Prabhu.
get
Can you hear
now
me?
yes, now I can hear you. Please.
Yeah. First of all, thank you very much, Vivek Prabhu. It was an excellent presentation, and we can see your efforts. Thank you so much for taking that efforts for all of us. And regarding to your question, yeah, I mean, for myself, I feel very much protective. The initiatives, whatever you take for us, Prabhu. It can be CC reading, or it can be engaging in any other services. So which I feel helps me in not to deviate much and keep engaged or keep focused in this path of spiritual practices. So that is the one thing strongly I feel, and I'm in a position of getting confidence that if I'm there with these people, yeah, definitely they will protect me and they'll help me uh, in my spiritual progress. Through. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for saying so. I think Ashok Guru, you still have something more to say, or your hand is raised from the past? Okay, let's go. Okay. It's 7:16. One last thing. I asked the question that even I should answer at least. I have felt I have felt it various times, protection, and of course, like many of us, it wakes us in waves. It's up and down. There were many instances where anything could have happened, something could have happened to me physically, but I felt I was kept alive just because I had service to my spiritual master and service to the devotees. Otherwise, there was no reason for me to be kept alive. And so it's because there is a sadhu, it's because there is a guru or there is an acharya, and one. And because there's an acharya, who is a Satya Sankalpa. What he has decided or what he has thought or what he has expressed has to happen. I was just an instrument that my own karmic reactions, etc., were set aside just because I had said yes, may not be even fully, willingly, maybe whatever, superficial yes to maybe to what the Acharya said, and I was saved physically, at least, number one. Number two, very similar to what Guru Prabhu said, that Krishna has somehow put me, for whatever be the reason, to be in a position of service to devotees. And in that position of service to devotees is where my protection has come. I can step aside and do many other things because my mind is like a monkey. And somehow Krishna has given the facilities, I can do whatever I want. But there is a boundary that is being put because of staying in the association of devotees. It may look a constraint for some, but it is actually a protection. And the fact that there is also a temple next to me where I'm staying, and not just an ordinary temple, but a temple of Srila Prabhupada's movement in ISKCON temple, that is also very protected. One is, of course, there is the vibrations of the temple. Even when one stays near, one can feel it. That is one aspect of it. But when the temple management bestows us with some responsibility, some accountability, it's actually protection. It gives me less time to indulge in other things which are not beneficial for my own progress, or even if not progress, it doesn't help me to go down. And most of all, I feel protected when somebody just, like some devotees especially, they just recognize this person is probably going off the cliff. They just give a call. And that call of affection, maybe it means nothing, no advice, no questions asked. When they just give a call, it means that I still am of some value for them. Or sometimes it's not a call, it's just a message. That is in itself a protection. These are the ways that I have experienced some protection. And of course, one of the greatest things for protection for every married man is their children or child and their spouse. When the child and the spouse are practicing Krishna consciousness, they are one of the strongest critiques. They are open. They never feel intimidated like others may feel. And because of this open relationship, it puts us in a space where we know we have been accepted by them. We know they like us. And yet they want the best for us, and they ask questions, or they question even our intentions sometimes. Why do you even want to do that way? And that questioning is a protection. And likewise, we also have friends who also may question us sometimes very openly. Those who can openly question are our best friends. Those who like keep it in their mind and say it, maybe we have not been so open to them, etc. We should allow others to question us very nicely. Create an open environment. And in that kind of an open environment is where sometimes I received very nice feedback, not just from my family members. Sometimes I received from the temple president, sometimes from other devotees, Nityan Prankapu and others. And since it comes from a person of position, somehow I have been taught that when it comes from a person of position, don't belittle it. A person of position speaks because it's something important. So his words are important. Of course, there are people in positions that they sometimes joke, but be very careful. We should be very careful when they speak certain words. It means something. And initially, when the leader of the temple president, did say something to me, I felt, why are you saying that? But 1 month later, 2 months later, 1 year later, I felt, yes, what he said was very right. probably Krishna spoke to him, because persons in positions, especially spiritual positions, at least they may have an iota of something nice, and maybe Krishna has inspired them to say something. So we'll have to find out gold wherever it is and take it. And accepting this gold-like advice from them, or some comments from them, it may not be advice, it may just be a comment, is in itself a protection. That's it, 7:22. We'll continue again tomorrow. Thank you very much. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Prabhu, for amazing summary.